Hey YouTube, Brian LCS, thanks for stopping by the channel and this video, the Amazing Spider-Man number 12 review. So we're looking at one of the variant covers this week. This is a Delato Miracle Man variant cover. The story is written by Zeb Wells and interior art is done by John Romita Jr. So let's jump into the review. We pick up where we left off from last issue, where Norman Osborn was meeting with Kingsley. Kingsley was the original Green Goblin, and they were meeting up. Norman was going to turn over his business back to Kingsley now that Kingsley is out of jail and, back around. But they were ambushed by the Hobgoblin. And as we can see here, Kingsley is up and in better shape than Norman Osborn. So we have, EMTs attending to Norman, and they mention about giving him, some type of drug, some morphine to, ease the pain. And he's basically says, that may not even affect me with the other things that I have in my body. But if it's protocol, go ahead. And so they're transporting him to the hospital. Now, Kingsley's already, gotten away. One of his, goons helped him, off, and he didn't want to deal with the police. So now Norman is in the hospital, and Peter is there, and Peter's really questioning him. He's, a little upset, skeptical about Norman and whether he's truly on the up and up. He tells him that he's having a hard time trusting him. Norman had kind of done a little switcheroo here. Peter wanted to be there during that meetup, but Norman told him it was at a different night, and so Peter was unable to be there. So there's just this conversation of this trust back and forth between the two. But Peter says, look, I got to get to the bottom of this, find out who this Hobgoblin is, so we can, put this to rest. His first stop is to go visit Betty Brant, who is the wife of Ned Leeds. Peter suspects that Ned is involved and, potentially could be the Hobgoblin. So she meets up with him, and, Betty admits that he's been wearing it again, meaning the Hobgoblin costume. And then Peter needs to know exactly where he is. And so Ned has been using another apartment to do some of his newspaper investigation work. So now, as Spider-Man, he's off to find Ned. And so he does find Ned, and Ned says, I'm glad you're here. And then he sees that in the closet or in another room of the apartment, there's the machine. And so it's called the Winkle device, which is one of the device that was used in previous encounters that helped Kingsley control Ned into becoming the Hobgoblin. And so Peter's, is trying to figure out what's going on here, and his spider sense goes off, and boom, he is attacked from behind. We see the Hobgoblin come in, and then, we see this battle going on, and we see Ned kind of left in the dust here. So then Peter says, okay, so Ned isn't the Hobgoblin, obviously, if the Hobgoblin just attacked me. And so we have a little battle going on, and Hobgoblin drops Peter, and Peter's trying to figure out, Spider-Man is trying to figure out, how is he going to get out of this? And then we see his own glider, which he calls Bug, come in and save him. And we see the Hobgoblin get upset, saying, hey, is this a joke? A glider? And then, Peter says, clearly not, and glides off. So then we cut to Norman. He's back in the hospital, or still in the hospital, and a nurse brings in a laptop and a briefcase, And she says, your assistant dropped this off and you wanted to leave it, but, don't work too hard. You need to rest. And he said, okay, I'll consider that. So we cut back to the action between Hobgoblin and Spider-Man. And so now we have kind of dueling gliders. And we see actually Spider-Man have some type of, pumpkin bomb or item that he throws at the Hobgoblin. It hits him in the back of the, neck, head area. And we see that it explodes and all these little, spiders come out. And the Hobgoblin notes, says, I guess this is this is non-lethal, unlike my, pumpkin bombs. And yeah, and Peter says, yeah, my weapons don't do, permanent damage. But he's like, I'm going to give you something that'll make you feel a little pain, tomorrow. And so he smacks him into a water tower. Now we cut back to Norman, and Norman is looking at another suit that he is working on, and then he realizes that the current spider suit that Spider-Man is using is linked to him, and he's able to kind of watch things live as they happen now. And then we just see Peter now kind of getting the upper hand on the Hobgoblin and basically taking it to him a little bit, saying, answer me, who are you? And Hobgoblin tries to make a couple punches and they're blocked, and then Spider-Man is just kind of pummeling him. And he gets, to a point where he can rip off his mask, and he sees that it's Kingsley. So he's confused because he knows when the Hobgoblin attacked Norman and Kingsley, obviously Kingsley was there. So, what's going on? Now we see his spider sense go off again. And he gets cracked in the back, and then is trying to figure out what's going on. Kingsley kind of regains his composure. And then, boom, we see that we have Kingsley and Ned Leeds as Hobgoblins. And we are left with a cliffhanger. So that's the issue. Overall, I kind of suspected last issue that Ned Leeds, it was kind of too obvious the way the story was going that it would be Ned Leeds as the Hobgoblin, but there was a little twist that I didn't anticipate, that we have, both Kingsley and Ned as Hobgoblins, and it looks like Kingsley is using, some type of mind control again over Ned. So kind of, revisiting some of the past history of the Hobgoblin and Spider-Man. But overall, I think it was a pretty good wrinkle, this, kind of back and forth, this kind of guessing game of who the Hobgoblin was. So, and now we're dealing with two. And so what is their, what is their real motive here? It seems, based on what Ned was talking about in his investigation, he had his sights set on Norman Osborn being crooked. So, is this something that Kingsley's, controlling him and making him think that, and, really pursuing him because Kingsley wants revenge on Norman? So only time will tell. We'll see where the story goes. Overall, this is pretty straightforward. This was kind of we didn't have a lot of outside characters. I mean, it was really just focused on the Hobgoblin, Norman story. No mention of Mary Jane, no Black Cat, none of the kind of outside things in Peter's life. So overall, I thought this was a pretty solid issue. I enjoyed it. A quick read, a lot of action. I'll go 3 stars on my, or three web heads in my 5 web head review system. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. We'll go with a 3. Better than average, but we did kind of get the reveal on Ned. We kind of figured that he was involved somehow. But it kind of seemed too obvious, but now we've got 2 Hobgoblins. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where the story goes. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you're reading this, what do you think? What do you think of the storyline? If you're not, let me know about my review. Did you like the review, or, and I've heard, some other YouTubers say, if you don't like it, hit that thumbs down twice. That'll help us. So hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next issue.